I wanted to show you how you could incorporate still images into your project. This is a project that we looked at earlier, and I've just made some enhancements to it. I'm basically working on a rough cut. So I have my audio and my main video track, and then as you can see on video track 2, I have some other items. So if we just scrub through the timeline, you'll see that I've added some other video clips just to break up what was there originally. I've tried to pick video clips that I think work with what is being said in the audio and will help to enhance the message. In addition to these video clips, we're also going to add some still images. I will add the still images to the beginning of my project. So what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and play, and I'll get an idea of how long I want to be showing the still images for in my project. I'll go ahead and hit spacebar to play. One of my favorite names for whale sharks is Marikatana. This is what they call whale sharks in Madagascar. I think that I'm going to have my still images play for roughly 9 seconds so that they fill this beginning part of my clip. The only reason that I'm determining this is that I want to get a rough idea about how many still images I'll need and how long of a duration the still images will stay on the screen. I have a still image bin, and I'm going to go ahead and click on this. I'll go ahead and click my tilde key to expand the still image bin so that I can choose images that I'm going to want to add to my timeline. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick about 5 images that I want to use at the beginning of my project. If you want to click out of sequential order, you're going to hold down your Command or Control key on your keypad. That will allow you to pick images not in any particular order that they appear within the bin. Now that I have my 5 images, I'm going to select tilde again so that I can minimize this window. Because I have at least one item selected within the project window, I can use this icon in the lower right-hand corner of the project window, which allows me to automate to sequence. We did look at this particular feature earlier in our course, but I'm going to use it again and in a slightly different way. When I click this, it's going to bring up my Automate to Sequence dialog box. Instead of using the default settings, I'm going to change some of these things. In relationship to ordering, I'm going to select Selection Order. The images will be added in the order in which I selected them. The placement is going to be sequentially because I did not create any markers. We will be using the Overwrite Edit method. In regards to the clip overlap, we can specify how we want the clips to overlap on top of each other, which will affect how the transitions are going to work. Let's go ahead and reduce this down to about 20 frames. For my still clip duration, I'm going to click frames per still. So instead of using an in and out range, we're going to specify frames per still. What we'll type for frames per still is let's go ahead and set this to about 50 frames. This will allow each still to stay on the screen for just under 2 seconds. We're going to apply the default video transition, and we'll go ahead and just leave nothing checked down here. Now ultimately, I'm going to want to add these to video 2. Video 1 is currently patched, so if I click OK, it's going to perform an overwrite edit at the point of my playback head and overwrite what's currently there. I'm going to click Undo. We'll move the playback head to the beginning of the project, and we'll patch the video 2 track so that when we use the Automate to Sequence, the new items are going to be added on video 2. In addition to patching video 2, I'm going to lock the video 1 track, and I might as well just lock audio 1 as well. This will prevent any changes from occurring on either one of these tracks. Let's go ahead and click Automate to Sequence. As you can see, all of the settings that we previously specified have already been saved within the Automate to Sequence dialog box. I am going to change my frames per still. Let's increase this to about 80 frames. Because we're using the clip overlap, we're going to need a little bit of extra frames. I'll go ahead and click OK. It's going to add my images to the sequence. the first thing I'm going to do is select all of the images. We'll right-click and select Scale to Frame Size. This will scale my images down so that they match the frame size. Let me zoom in on my timeline so you can see what's happening. In addition to adding the images, we also have the default transition that's been added in between each image. This is the cross dissolve. If we go ahead and play this part of the timeline, you'll notice that between each image, there is a dissolve transition that occurs. One of my favorite names for whale sharks is Mariketana. This is what they call whale sharks in Madagascar. It translates to many stars. All right, I'm liking that. I think that looks good. I'll zoom back out so that we can see our entire timeline. As you can see, it's very easy to be able to add still images to your project. And if you use the Automate to Sequence, you can apply a transition. If you simply wanted to just have an image appear in your timeline, you can drag it from the project window into the timeline. By default, an image is going to display for 5 seconds. You can easily extend the image out to display for a longer period of time or a shorter period of time. If you want to control the amount of time in which images are added to the timeline by default, you can change that by going to your preferences. I'll go to Preferences, and on a PC this is located under Edit. I'm going to go to Timeline, and this is where you can set the still image default duration. So if you wanted your images to come in at a default size of 3 seconds, we could go ahead and alter this. Now if I click OK, and I select a couple of images, and I bring them to the timeline, each image is going to display for exactly 3 seconds. Premiere makes it very easy for you to add images and incorporate them into your projects.